Hey, Shalom, Canada. Yahweh Shabbat Thumb. Priest and Officer YAHANNA and the Commanding General YAHANNA. We are the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. All right. Today is Saturday night scripture breakdown. All right, it's a mandatory class for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans who are in Canada. If you want to be in the school, definitely be at this class every Saturday from 8 till 10 p.m. All right. And make sure you're tuned in to Black Watch. Make sure you're tuned in and subscribe to every I.S.U.P.K YouTube channel, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you like this YouTube channel. All right, like, share, subscribe. Get this word out to all your family, friends, to all Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All right, what we're teaching is very important for our people. All right, let's jump to the book of Deuteronomy. All right. If you got any questions, you can type your questions in the chat. All right, we're gonna start off. We'll just jump into some scriptures. We're gonna go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, and verse 1. All right. The book of Deuteronomy, right, has a lot of laws, statutes, and commandments that were written down, recorded from the scribes, right? The scribes of Moses, writing down what the Most High wanted them to write down. And it was giving Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans a constitution, right? It was giving us law, telling us don't lie, don't steal, right? Not to rape a woman. These are different laws that you find in the land, right? Just like the government of Canada, they tell you that you can't steal, right? You can't steal, you can't kill. If you do these things, there's punishments for that, all right? And it's no different from what we find in the Bible. It's no different from what we find in the book of Leviticus, the book of Numbers, the book of Deuteronomy, right? The book of Exodus. These are different laws that were given to govern a nation of people. And what Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are missing today are morals. We're missing a moral compass to guide us and to dictate to us how we should live our lives, right? A lot of us look to Christianity, look to Islam, right? Look to these different spiritual leaders, right, for guidance on how we should live this life, who we should marry, the jobs we should take, right? How to deal with friends and family. And as you can see the condition of our people today, clearly all these different institutions have failed us, right? You look at the rate of abortion amongst Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, we're number one in the abortion list, right? We're number one dying of cancer. We're number one dying of all these different diseases. We're number one in the prison cells, right? This is the condition of Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? You look at our marriages falling apart. And the reason these things happen is because we have a lack of morals, right? We have a lack of principles. We have a lack of integrity, right, amongst our people, right? One of those things plaguing our community is all the abuse on drugs, right? All these different brothers and sisters out here smoking weed, brothers and sisters shooting up, right? Brothers and sisters shooting up on all these different drugs, addicted to coke. And these things are absolutely plaguing our community and destroying our community, right? You look at how many Black men were locked up and put in these prison cells over selling weed, right? Selling weed, doing weed, right? It was like damn near, like brothers had a damn near a skill right? Damn near, what's the word I'm looking for? Down to like a science, right? On how to smoke weed, how to hide your weed. Today, people are just doing it out in the open, right? A couple of years ago, the government of Canada legalizes weed, right? And it's like the amount of hell that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans had to go through, right, over this drug is insane, right? Brothers are still locked up to this day over multiple drug possession charges, right? Over just being caught with a bag of weed because you were just released and you're on probation, and because of the oppression that you're in, it's like you look to that weed to try to give you some peace, right? Try to give you something to cope with all the pain that you're dealing with, right, amongst your family, amongst your community. And you go ahead and get yourself caught with that bag of weed, it's like you're sitting in prison now doing more time, right? Because in the government's eyes, they're saying you don't respect the government, right? You don't respect authorities, right? You don't respect the laws of the land. So they got brothers locked up doing damn near life sentences over this drug. And then they turn around and legalize it, right? Why? Because the oppressor's greedy, right? This devil that's over us is greedy as hell, and he found a way that he could make money off this drug. So he legalizes it, right? So So this devil goes and legalizes it. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was it Colorado? I think Colorado was one of the first states to start legalizing weed.
I think weed legalized it long before they did.
Long before that?
Yeah.
Oh. But the point is, right, the oppressor saw a way that he could make money, and they turn around and legalize it. Right? Why? Because this oppressor has no morals. He has no integrity. Even though he knows that this drug destroys the people, if he can make money off of it, he's going to make money off of it. Now it's legal and brothers are still locked up. Right? So
yeah, you can handle it.
Oh. Right? So now he legalizes it, right? Which is just further destroying our community. Right? Because now brothers can get this thing legal. They can go ahead, they can get high, and it's such a shame, right, to see a lot of these brothers doing it, because a lot of them don't realize we're at war. A lot of them don't realize the war that's plaguing our community, right? And our oppressor is winning, right? We're a defeated people, right? But let's jump into the scripture. We're going to go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1, because this is a lot of where it all begins for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Deuteronomy 28 and verse 1 says, "And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God," right? Who is thy God? This is Yahweh in the Hebrew. This is the God of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? This is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Joseph, right? And that's good news for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, to know that their God is black, that Christ is black, that Moses is black, the angels are black, right? All the people in this book is our family, right? All the people in this book are our blood relatives, and we have an authority over us. You understand? That word God it means power in the Hebrew, right? That word Lord is master, Adon in the Hebrew, right? The Lord our God, the Lord our power, right? The God of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And what's important is to hearken unto him, to hearken diligently, right? What's that word hearken mean? Hearken means to hear, to listen, to obey. And that word diligently, right? That word diligently, right? The Strong's definition says to hear intelligently, often with implication of attention obedience, certainty, consent, to declare, right? To be diligent, right? To make it your damn job, right? To make it something important, to make it one of the most important things, right? That you can do, right? To be attentive, to listen diligently to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the God of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. All
right, you can have it pass over when you're ready.
So I'll just finish this verse. Right? It says, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day. Right? That's to listen to the Most High. Right? That's to listen to Yahweh. That's to listen to the law, statutes, and commandments that he gave us. Right? He says, don't do drugs. You blacks, Hispanic, and Native American, you got to put down the drugs.
Right.
Don't be a drug addict. Don't be out there smoking weed. Don't be a thief. Don't be a criminal. Don't be a murderer. Right? Whatever law, statutes, and commandments the Most High gave you, this is something that you got to keep. Right? And if we would do that, right, we would change the condition that we're in. Right? So, with that, I'm going to pass the class over back to the priests and officers about it.
Clap it up. All right, so let's get it in. We got another Saturday night scripture breakdown. Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Shema Latham B'Hashem Shai to Sister Nawa and Sister Kala. Right, priest, in the Riser podcast chat, there's a article, right? Give me the last one I shared. That last one, right? So we're going to talk about it. Let's bring it out because this is something we definitely need to talk about. First, the government terrorized the black community, right? When we are just trying to cope with pain. If you ask many of us why we smoked weed, we'd say we don't know. We have absolutely no idea why we smoked weed because Snoop Dogg made it look cool. Right. So we started smoking weed. The people who owned, now listen, a young man Kanye, he should be in the Trooper program, right? But I'm going to tell you what he was trying to say because I'm going to tell you with a seasoned voice, right? He's trying to say there are people, predominantly Jewish, who own the media, right? Such as music, predominantly rap music, right? Predominantly the labels who tell these rappers, listen, if you're going to put out this song, put it out. But the music that they're pushing to us always talks about weed and drugs and whores and murder and genocide. One of the things they actively push is songs about drug use. We have so many rappers who talked about drug use, right? Drug abuse, right? Abusing weed. Weed is, listen, if you got cancer and it's just struggle for you to eat, or you got even MS, some people who got MS, they take the weed oil and they put it in their drink. It calms their body from shaking, but they're not really smoking it, right? You should check your doctor if you need something like that, right? But to just be smoking weed, just to be smoking it, at the end of the day, it does more harm to your body, right? Again, now what Kanye was saying, there's a bunch of people who own media, or they're predominantly Jewish, right? They push a drug culture on us, right? So you ask us, why are we smoking weed? Well, Snoop Dogg said it was cool. Jay-Z said he was smoking on the Chiba, right? When the real answer is, we're smoking weed because we're dealing with pain.
Oh, so lucky.
I
was speaking to a sister the other day, and she was talking about how good weed is for us, right? And she's giving all these different medical reasons as to why it's good, this and that. And so I asked the sister, I said, well, why do you smoke it? Right? I said, what kind of medical condition do you have? And she looked at me and just said, I hate reality.
Nah, listen, that is definitely a medical condition. Reality for black. Now, Salakia, obviously I'm being sarcastic, right? I'm probably going to get a phone call. So, Bajo, what did you say during class? Salakia. Listen, I'm being sarcastic. Black people, we've gone through it. We've been through the ringer. We've been at the bottom of the wine press, and they made old age Negro wine out of us. They pressed us. That's what they did. They made wine out of us. So we're at the bottom of the wine press. Listen, you go through, I guarantee you right now, someone in Montreal North is smoking weed because they heard shots in their neighborhood 2-3 weeks ago, and they were thinking about their kids were outside. Listen, we were pulling up. There was kids outside, and they started shooting. Someone in Lawrence Heights or Regent Park or any Negro Canada, right? Meaning anywhere where Negroes live. And when I say Negroes, I'm sometimes I just say blacks, but I'm talking about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Native Americans are black. Hispanics are black to me. According to God, they're black. According to the Bible, they're black. We're the damn near same people. You go up to the reservations and they're getting high. Right. Listen, the reservations is higher than NASA ever thought. NASA said we're going to get to the moon. The reservation said, due to the oppression of the oppressor, we got past the moon. Listen, the Native Americans are so high, they're in another galaxy. They're light years away from us. That's how horrible it is. And we're just trying to cope with the pain. Some of us drink. Listen, me, I like a strong drink. I definitely like a strong drink, right? Some of us smoke weed, and it's horrible. Some of us do heroin, and it's horrible. The oppressor pushed crack cocaine in our community after he gave us heroin to kill the Panthers, right? They pushed crack cocaine in our communities, and they wonder why our children are going so crazy, right? The oppressors actively bring garbage bags full of weed into the jails. In Toronto South right now, you just go to a guard, catch him outside in the parking lot, and say, listen, I'll give you $6,000. You bring 2 no-frills bags full of whatever, right? And whatever could be a knife. It could be some alcohol. It could be some pills. More than likely, there's pills in it. More than likely, there's a whole pound compressed to look like the size of a fist, right? And this is what's happening, right? So we got some articles we're going to go into because the Canadian government, after oppressing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and after telling them, we're going to lock you up and give you charges, you're only 13 and you got some weed, instead of bringing you to your school to seek counsel or bringing you to your parents to say, hey, he needs some counsel, we're just going to give you a ticket, right? That's what they've done to us, right? So we're going to go into our article because the Canadian government now, they're saying, listen, Uber, not just a car ride, not just a car app. You can't just get McDonald's. Now you can get McDonald's, a little blunt, and a car ride off your phone. And if you think that it's not like, listen, Justin Trudeau said, this is the funniest thing Justin Trudeau said. He said, we're going to legalize weed to kill the black market. Like, my nigga, what the hell are you talking about? Like, that's not going to kill the black market because the black market hasn't died, right? Now, if you ask people in the streets, has the black market died? They'll tell you no. They'll tell you they're not going to dispensaries because dispensaries are selling them bullshit, right? Now, that's not us saying that dispensaries need to start selling better quality. What we're saying is the dispensaries should not even be open. Weed should not be allowed to be smoked in Canada because Officer Shariwan broke this down a while ago, right? And we're going to get into our article. Officer Shariwan broke this down a while ago, right? Weed is playing a role into the psychosis of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. You see them brothers on the metro and the brothers just walking outside and they're bugging out because they're smoking weed, right? Officer Shariwan, I gotta ask you a question. So, what do you think the drug of choice was for the? I'm not even gonna ask you a question. I'm just gonna say it like this: every murder in your neighborhood stems from weed. Now, you might not understand what I'm talking about. They weren't killing over weed, but they were smoking weed before they did the murder. Before they shot up your neighborhood, they were smoking weed. This is a guarantee. I bet my rank on it that they were smoking weed before they went and shot up your neighborhood. Before they killed that innocent young child walking down the street or playing in the park, they were smoking weed, right? And Uber Eats is about to deliver all the weed you can order from your thumb, right? You just tap your phone and the weed just shows up at your door. Now you don't gotta go to the projects no more. You don't gotta go to a place where white people used to be like, we gotta go to the projects and get in there and get out quick, right? white people used to be scared to go to the projects unless it was to get their drugs. When they get their drugs, they weren't scared. Listen, that was the one time they felt comfortable. They would walk out. We got the drug money here. No one's bothering them, right? Now they just order it off the Uber. All right, Shaywan, you can read that article.
Okay. This is an article from Forbes titled Uber Eats partners up with Leafly to deliver marijuana in Toronto.
Good night. Now the marijuana is getting delivered like pizza. Like pizza. Listen, you could order a large, thin. So like I didn't even order pizza. I'd be making pizza and putting pineapples all over my pizza. Salakia, Barack. Pineapples all over the pizza. Good night. Right? But listen, Uber is saying, listen, we teamed up with Leafly. Now you can order a pizza. You can get a ride with your pizza. And if you get too high, we'll give you a car ride home. That's what's happening. That's what Uber Eats is saying. Let's keep reading.
Okay. Marijuana consumers in Toronto woke up on Monday, October 17, with the opportunity to order marijuana products thanks to a partnership between Uber Eats, the online food ordering delivery platform launched by Uber in 2014, and Leafly.
Right. So now you could order marijuana, right? Before, okay, now if you're familiar with Toronto, anybody in Toronto will tell you that's nothing new because their weed man was dropping it off way before, right? They'll also tell you it's not really that big of a deal because they had Weed Maps, which was an app or a website where you could go and it lists the top 10 weed sellers in your city. Like literally, this is no word of a lie. You go on the website, it has the number one weed deliverer and weed growers and weed sellers in your city. You would call them on this app, and they would come and deliver it to you. But now what Uber is doing is they're going to commercialize it. They're going to make it more widespread. They're going to make it to where it seems cool to order weed off your phone, right? Now this is what's going to happen too, right? There's going to be robberies that are going to happen because of this, right? There's going to be robberies that happen because people are going to, one, use fraud credit cards to order the weed, and two, people are going to see an Uber now and be like, oh, he's delivering something. And the second they realize that it's not food, like you could tell when an Uber has food, right? You know that they have the hot bag. Now the Uber is going to be walking up to the door with a paper bag or some bag, and you're just going to know it has weed in it. Some young kids are going to jump that Uber. You know why? Because they used to jump the pizza man. They used to rob the KFC man. If you live in the hood, you know that KFC don't even deliver to your neighborhood no more because they're tired of getting robbed. Officer Shariwan. You can keep reading.
Okay. According to Leafly, this is the first time a cannabis delivery will be available on a major third-party delivery platform worldwide.
And it's going to happen worldwide. You're going to start to see it. Whatever Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are, they're going to be able to deliver weed because they want to make sure you get high. They want you to be high and docile so you're not willing to fight. They want you to forget about all your oppression as you toke away your life. Keep reading.
Marijuana consumers over 19 can now place orders from local licensed cannabis retailers.
How the hell are you going to know if they're over 19? Like, how are you going to know if they're 19 or over 19 and not? You can just make a fake app. You don't need ID to order for Uber, right? So now are they going to say, oh, you need ID to order for Uber weed? So you just go get a copy of someone's ID, take a picture, boop, bop, bop, and now your profile is their ID. Uber food just drops the food at your door. Is the Uber weed gonna make sure you're the right person? Are they gonna ask you to see the ID before the weed is dropped off? Not likely. They don't got time for that. Uber don't get paid that much. They think Uber gets paid that much. Uber don't get paid that much. They're just gonna get the delivery, get the weed, drop it at the door, and who the hell cares who gets it? Because they don't care. Right? Keep reading.
Uber Eats app and have it delivered to their door by the retailer's staff, certified by CanCell, an Ontario-based cannabis retail education program.
I'm gonna put you onto something, right? One of the former police chiefs of Toronto, right? He's in the Canadian government right now. Now, I'm gonna blow your mind for a second. The former police chief who was responsible for locking up thousands of brothers. Salaki, can you Google right quick the last two police chiefs and tell me the name, and I'll tell you the name of the former police chief. Right? This is the of Toronto. Right? The former police chief of Toronto, he's in the government, right? He has some, Salaki, I'm gonna just say some BS title, right? But what he's really investing in right now is marijuana. He's invested in marijuana companies. There's one more before Mark Saunders. Go to the police chief before Mark Saunders. You should just be able to type that in, police chief before Mark Saunders. Right? Now, this man, he locked up countless of brothers for weed. He didn't physically put the handcuffs on, but he overseen it because he was the top of the totem pole for police in Toronto. And now he's invested in a company that sells weed. The man that used to tell you you're going to jail for having weed, or you're going to get a ticket for having weed, is now telling you, right, that's it right there. Former police chief Bill Blair. Right now, if you type in Bill Blair and just find out what his position in cabinet is right now, just type Bill Blair position in cabinet and it should pop up. Right? Listen, he invested in marijuana, and good night. It's a horrible thing, because the same people who are locking us up and basically telling us that we're criminals if we smoke weed or if we're in possession of weed, right, is now investing in weed because his boss made weed legal. Right? Justin Trudeau made weed legal. The kicker was, if Justin Trudeau didn't make weed legal, he wasn't going to get elected for his first term. Right? He got elected his first term because he promised to legalize weed. He pandered to drug addicts, and that's how he won that election. So that should let you know, majority of Canada is drug addicts. Right? You got it?
Sure. President of Payments, Privy Council for Canada, Minister of Emergency Preparedness.
There was another role that they gave him, but his roles aren't important. Just know that the former police chief, Bill Blair, is now in the cabinet. He's now a member of parliament, right? He's a member of parliament, and he used to lock people up for weed. You can go back to the article. Let's get back to the article. We'll read that. Right, if you got any questions, you got anything you wanted to say, you could type it in the chat. Let's get the chat active. Tonight at 9 o'clock, Commanding General YAHANNA and his heavy-hitting captains will be on Blackwatch News, bringing out a heavy show. Usually it's Captain Mashak running at the helm, right? Tonight at 9 o'clock, Blackwatch News, right? The captains of the I.S.U.P.K, they'll be bringing out a heavy show as usual. Like this class, share this class. This class is sponsored by the like button and the share button. Right, let's get back into it. Officer Shariwan, are you ready?
The new service has begun with 3 retailers: Hidden Leaf Cannabis, Minerva Cannabis, and Shiva's Rose.
Right, and Shiva's Road. Listen, we gotta get back to that one because that's interesting. Right, all this grow dreads and smoke weed and meditate culture that we're getting, it comes from the East Indians.
Right.
Their god is called Shiva. Good night. They're letting you know right there. Shiva's cannabis, right? And they think they grow the dirty dreads and smoke some weed and meditate and be on it and sit on the ground and they're gonna connect somehow to Mother Nature and their god Shiva. Right? That's not what the Lord wanted for us. Right? We can keep reading articles or anything else.
Users can place an order in the Uber Eats app by selecting the cannabis category to search for nearby retailers. They will be asked to verify their age. Successfully, they can choose marijuana products to purchase from the retailer's menu and will be notified when the retailer has accepted their order.
Good, nice. So now, listen, kids are going to be able to just order weed off YouTube, off thing. So, okay, bear with us one moment. Right, so now they're just going to be able to order off the internet, off their phones, because Uber is going to deliver it. Now, I wonder, will you be able? This is the question I got, right? Will you be able to deliver weed to school zones, like the house that's across the street from the high school? Will they be able to buy weed from Uber Eats, right? And how are they going to know if it's a high schooler buying weed or not? Right? What are their protocols and what are their listen? Because I remember there was a time we were buying Salaki. When I was in high school, I used to buy liquor all the time. Like, what are you talking about? Hey, buddy, can you buy this liquor for me? I'll give you $5, and he would buy the liquor. So what's to stop people from doing that with weed for Uber Eats? Especially at the listen, in my neighborhood right now, there's a school 5 minutes away. I live right across from a dispensary. Right? You can't tell me that kids aren't sending people in to these dispensaries to buy them weed. It's going to be much easier with Uber Eats. Con, you had something?
So I was just saying. I remember we used to go to this one man's house. We were 14. We'd go to the man's house. We'd ask him to order some liquor, and we would just offer him, hey, we'll give you a beer. We'll give you 2 beers. You know what I mean? If you could just order this for us. And he would go and order it for us. We would get liquor every single week. Right? We were 14, 15 years old, just drinking in parks and stuff like that. And after about 2 months of doing that, once we knew all the delivery drivers, we would just order straight from them. And they would see us with them all the time. And by that time, they thought we were all of age. They stopped IDing us. Right? They didn't ID us. They didn't ask us our age or anything like that. They just assumed that we were old enough to drink. And so, like, these Uber drivers, you best believe it's going to be the same thing. Right? How many kids are out there with fake IDs? Right? They'll go and spend $100 on a fake ID saying they're 20 years old, born in Flint, Michigan. Right? From living in Flint, Michigan. Right? They flash those cards, say they're of age. There's nothing stopping kids from getting weed. Matter of fact, even when weed was illegal, there was nothing stopping kids from getting weed. Right? What makes you think making it legal and putting some age limit on it is going to stop the youth from being drug addicts? Nothing. Right? I'm going to keep going on the article. It says the user's age will be further verified when the delivery driver arrives. right? And like I was saying earlier, right? There's no way of telling how old these kids are, right? With all the fake IDs out there, and some of these kids, some of these 13-year-old kids, they look like they're damn near 25 years old,
Right.
right? And so it's like if they could get it once it was illegal, there's nothing stopping them once it's legal, right? And just making all these different forms of ways of getting it to people easier is only going to make it easier for kids to get the weed, right?
Right. That's so heavy. All right. Is there anything else in that article we might go to? Right. We definitely got a few articles that we're gonna bring out.
This is a good one.
Con, you can bring it up.
Come. The article goes on to read, in a joint statement, Marissa and Dale Taylor, owners of Hidden Leaf, said that this partnership is a great way to expand their reach and grow their business across the city. Just like the in-store experience, our CanCell certified delivery staff understand and comply with local regulations around cannabis restrictions, including checking ID.
That means kids are definitely going to be buying weed because they've had tobacco restrictions and regulations for years. And I can't count how many Chinese people sold me cigarettes.
Right.
Listen, I remember I was 16. It was my 16th birthday, and I was buying packs of blunts from the Chinese man in my neighborhood.
Right.
And he would willingly sell it to me. Right? So that definitely means that kids are going to be buying weed. And listen, you might not want to hear this, right? All you weed smokers out there, that's exactly what they want. They want our children to be smoking weed.
So lucky if I could add.
Con.
Right? Like it just said in the article, they specifically said they want to expand their reach and grow their business. Right? These people are in it for the money. If they can get the money from the kids, you better believe they're getting the money from the kids.
They're getting the money from the kids. Yeah. Right? Listen, and the kids are going to be doing the robberies. The kids are going to be knocking knocking upside the head these Uber weed people for the weed, and it's going to be a horrible thing. You're going to see wherever there's this is the next thing. Wherever there's a weed dispensary, the crime rate is up. The crime rate goes up. Right? It just goes hand in hand. The drug use and crime rate go hand in hand. Anything else in there?
In a new release, Lola Kasim, general manager of Uber Eats Canada, explained that the partnership with Leafly will help retailers offer safe, convenient options for people in Toronto to purchase legal cannabis for home delivery. Over the last few years, we have invested heavily in our delivery business, and selection has expanded tremendously. Uber Eats has grown quickly to become a versatile platform usable by diverse businesses, large and small. The new delivery service aims to help combat the illegal market and reduce impaired driving.
Right. See, this doesn't make sense, right? They keep saying the same thing over and over again. How is delivering weed to someone in their house going to stop illegal driving, right? Meaning impaired driving. Like, okay, so you brought him the weed in his house. So that's what was the measure to make sure he didn't get into his car, right? You delivered him the weed because they were in some park. Now, what stopped him from getting into cars? It doesn't make sense. These people are just giving you anything that sounds good. We're delivering you weed in the park that you're standing in. And now we expect you not to jump in your car and drive off. Salakia, do you know where most people in Toronto smoke weed? I'm gonna see, like, someone in the chat. Let me know if you know where most people in your city smoke weed. Now, this could be Toronto, this could be Montreal, Vancouver, New York, Philadelphia, wherever. Where do most people smoke weed? Is it in their house? Do they smoke weed in a park? Right? Like, where do they smoke weed? I just want to know if anybody knows. Right? I'll give you a second. You can keep reading.
Okay. Although marijuana has been legal since 2018, the illegal market still thrives in Canada.
Because you can't get rid of a black market. Right? Because this is what happens. Who's going to the weed dispensary when it closes at 10 o'clock? When okay, I'm not gonna take the bus ride to go to the dispensary. When I could just call, yo, Mark. You just call up Mark, right? I tried to use Mark because listen, I didn't want to use just a black name to make it seem like we're the only ones that sell weed. Listen, them white boys got them oppressors. Listen, they got a market. Oppressors sell weed by the pounds. It's blacks, Hispanics, they be nickel and diming while these oppressors, they got their pounds and the kilos and the metric tons. They got the gym bags. You know the hockey gym bags with the wheels? You think they wheeling around hockey equipment. Yeah, right. La. Right? There's a pound of Chiba in it. All right. Oh, one second. Give the sister Kalad a hand. Let's give her a hand. Listen, 1 second. I'm a Salaki. It says I gotta post your comment, right? I gotta post a comment. Nowadays, they don't really care. I seen people smoke while driving.
Right.
Listen, in my city, that's all they do. They smoke while driving. Now all you gotta do is you go call the Uber Eats. They say, okay, we're gonna be here, and you tell them to meet them there, and you meet them at an intersection. They're going to be swapping the weed out the window of the cars at the red light. It's Slovakia. Right? In the house, on the balcony, in front of the building, just about anywhere. Con sis, do what sis. You that first part, you hit it right on the head. They smoke while driving. Do what sis. Right? That's a smart sister. Right? Listen, y'all sisters better get in class. Y'all sisters better get in class. Right? But that's where they're smoking the weed. Just about anywhere. Right? And a lot of times they smoke while driving. A lot of times people don't even want to drive unless they're smoking. I don't understand that fact. It's like let's drive. No, I gotta roll up. And it's like, all right, well smoke right now before you drive. No, I gotta smoke while I'm driving. It's like, what the hell? Listen, I had a brother in the world, right? And this is when I was coming into the truth. He wanted to smoke everywhere. Right. And I'm like, all right, we're going, let's go to the restaurant and get something to eat and get some drinks at the bar. He's like, yeah, but we gotta smoke first. I'm like, my nigga, I'm not really smoking no more. I'm trying to quit. Like, what's wrong with you? He's like, nah, we gotta smoke right now. And I'm like, so why don't you just smoke while you're at the restaurant? Nah, I gotta smoke while I'm driving to the restaurant. It's a long drive. My nigga, it's only 10 minutes. It's like, good night. That's how much pain Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans deal with, right? But Officer Show you one. If there's nothing else in there, drop that article and go to the first article that I posted.
It's locking my phone.
Okay.
Is it first one?
Yeah, first one.
Okay. This is a CBC News article titled "Only 484 marijuana pardons have been granted since program started in 2019."
They started a program, right? They started a program to grant clemency or grant pardons, right? To people who've been convicted of weed charges, right? In 2019, I started a program too. It was called the Trooper Program. Right? Good night. I studied that Trooper Program. I never looked back. My favorite color is all black. Right? That Trooper Black. That's my favorite color. Right? And I used to be heavy into smoking weed. Right? I started that Trooper Program and I got a pardon from the Most High. He hasn't taken my life yet. Right? Salakia. Canada said they're going to be giving out pardons to people who smoke weed or people who've been convicted of weed charges. Right. This program started in 2019, and in 2019, less than 500 people have been pardoned. Good, night. Let's find out. This is to let you know, like a lot of brothers and sisters have gone to jail or died over marijuana. You can keep reading.
This was posted October 31st, 2021.
Right.
It's been more than 2 years since the federal government launched a program to offer Canadians with criminal records for simple marijuana possession a fast, free pardon, but only 484 people have been granted one so far.
Right. Now this is to let you know, they don't give a damn about your pardons. They just want money. They said they were going to pardon you to make you sound nice, right? They're not doing it, or they would have had it done already. Right. To them, simple marijuana means that, listen, you had less than a couple pounds or maybe less than an ounce and you were just smoking. They might have charged you with an ounce and said you were selling it, but that was simple to them, so they're going to pardon you now, because how can they look at you and judge you for selling an ounce of weed when they sell metric tons? The oppressor, he controls the weed market. Excuse me. And he sells metric tons of weed right now. Just walk 10 minutes in Toronto, any direction, and you're going to see a weed dispensary. I guarantee you, you can't walk 10 minutes in Toronto in any direction without seeing a weed dispensary.
Right. It's
everywhere. Like one of the spot by my house, they got a whole sign that you can see from blocks away that says they sell weed. Right. You got commercials. Listen, I just went to Mississauga. I was in an intersection at a black part of Mississauga, and I hopped out the car. I'm looking prissy. I got my fringes on. I'm looking just like this. Me and Officer Chardon, we had boots on the ground. We're handing out flyers and waking up brothers and sisters and letting them know about the prison program. Right, the same jails that house the brothers that have been convicted and locked up because of weed. We're in those prisons trying to wake them up. Right. We hopped out the car. Brother said, you want kush? Looked at him, my nigga, I'm not a drug dealer. I don't smoke drugs. What is wrong with you? And he was taken aback. Like I said something about his mother. Because he wasn't used to hearing that we're not supposed to smoke weed. Right? The next man tried to sell me some more weed. And he said, listen, you want some weed? Nah, man, listen, when they do the drive-bys, it's because of the weed. Right? He said, yeah, but listen, it's because I'm from Jamaica where the weed is all right, and up here it's different. So you're trying to sell me the different weed. Like, what the hell? What's wrong with him? Right? He's trying to sell me the bad shit. Good night. That's to let you know they don't care. Let's get into this article.
Critics of the system say the low number of pardons applied for and granted proves the program is unfair to the people affected most, and that a blanket expungement of criminal records should take place. According to figures provided by the Parole Board of Canada, 780 people applied for a pardon between August 1st, 2019 and October 1st, 2021. Of those applications, 484 were granted and 3 were discontinued. The PBC said that 288 applications were returned due to ineligibility or incompleteness, and 5 more applications are still being reviewed. The government initially estimated that about 10,000 Canadians would be eligible for the pardons, known as record suspensions. PBC spokesperson said the number of applications might be lower than expected for a number of reasons. Some applications might have cannabis-related charges other than simple possession, she said. Individuals with simple possession of cannabis convictions might also have other convictions such as theft or mischief. which would make them ineligible for a cannabis record suspension.
Now listen to the game. Did y'all hear that game? Right, that was a slick game being played on you. Right, listen, we can't give you a pardon for just weed, because while you were smoking weed, you were breaking into a car. Right, you broke into the car, and we just happened to find a gram, so we charge you with that too. Right, you should have threw that gram away, but because you broke into the car, or because you got weed, right? You had weed in your house, and you were also selling crack and had a gun. Listen, the gun and the crack said we can't pardon the weed. I thought y'all were just pardoning the weed. They're not doing that because they don't care about doing that. It was a game. It was something they said to make you feel like, oh yeah, they're gonna do this and that for us. They don't care about that. They care about selling weed. Their game is selling weed. Pardons, giving out pardons is not a part of the game, because they need to make sure they can arrest you some more, right? And give you more time based on your criminal history, so you can go and feed the towns of Penetanguishene and Kingston, Ontario, as you do your jail time. Right? Keep reading.
Come on, Con. The Liberal government passed a law The Liberal government passed a law in 2019 eliminating the program's 631.
You know what I read?
Yeah, if you could. Can you listen?
Yeah. All right, so what do we got here? The Liberal government passed a law in 2019 eliminating the program's 631 application fee, right? So they were charging you. On top of that, now they're going to turn around and say, listen, we're not getting as much applications, right? But at the same time, while they were doing this program, it was a $631 fee. The people who smoke weed don't have $631 to give to you for an application. They're addicted to weed. They have to buy their weed. Why would they give you $631 for an application? Do you know how much weed they could buy? On top of that, the people who really need this application are poor. They don't have $631 to give you. First, they're buying weed to cope with the pain. Second, you made it so they could buy weed everywhere they go. So every 10 blocks they walk, they're buying weed, right? They're also poor. So instead of spending that money on the application, they're turning around and spending that money on the things that they need for their house, like food, like backpack for the kids, right? Slovakia. Let's get back to it. Right. So with that said, I'm going to give you a precept right now, right? Because what most of y'all don't know is smoking weed is the worship of another god, right? The East Indians have a god. That god is named Shiva. Slovakia. While I get this right quick. Right. So I'm going to go to the book of Exodus 3 and verse 5. Thou shalt have no other God before me. Right. The East Indians, they have a god, Shiva. Right. I'm going to find an article right quick for you. Right. We're not supposed to have a god, another god before us. Bear with me one moment. I look for this. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Right. So the East Indians, they have a god that likes weed, and you're wondering why I just said smoking weed is the worship of another god. So I'm gonna find it for you right now. Right. Shiva is a god who likes marijuana. So do many of his followers. Good night. Now listen, I'm just breaking it down, man. I'm just telling you the truth. Shiva is a god who likes marijuana. 1 second. Let me jump down into this article, right? My God said, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." The East Indian god likes marijuana. Shiva is a god who likes marijuana. 1 second, let's get into it. Hundreds of holy men and some women have traveled from around Nepal and India for the festival, right? This is talking about a weed festival that they have. Oh, 1 second. This article gets deep. I didn't even know it gets that deep. Salakia. Let's get into it. Groups of dreadlocked Hindu ascetics sit around small smoky fires puffing on clay pipes at I.S.U.P.K, one of Nepal's holiest Hindu temples in the capital city of Kathmandu. Hundreds of holy men and some women have traveled from around Nepal and India for the festival. They spend the days before the holiday alternately praying and lounging to prepare to commune with Shiva. Now they smoke weed and think they're talking to their god. When you're talking to a demon, that demon's telling you to smoke that weed. They also smoke hashish. Marijuana mingles with bonfires are both symbols of the religious devotion. Shiva, it's believed, used marijuana both to relax. Good night. You ever ask a weed smoker why they smoking weed? I'm trying to meditate. them Salakia. Listen, my brothers and sisters, man, y'all just love so much stuff that goes against the Most High. Rasta say meditation. Listen, I used to remember this joke. I'm not gonna tell it, but the Rasta would be like, "It's meditation, a sensation." Salakia. Yo, Mark. That's when they call the drug dealer, right? So they can get the weed, right? Shiva is believed to use marijuana both to relax and focus better for meditation. And there you have it, right? Listen, you smoking weed, you're worshiping another god. That's not the God of our fathers, and you wonder why we're in such a horrible condition right now. All right. So let's see. I'm gonna get back to this article. Where's the other article? Let's get to it. According to figures provided by the Parole Board of Canada, right, 780 people applied for a pardon between August 1st, 2019 and October 1st, 2021, right? Those applications, 448 were granted and 3 were discontinued, right? The PDC said that 288 applications returned due to ineligibility or incompleteness, and 5 more applications are still being reviewed. The government initially estimated that about 10,000 Canadians would be eligible for pardons. Good night. Did you hear that number? 10,000. Now, listen, we're going to have to study that number some more, because now we need to find out, of that 10,000, who are Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans? Right. Officer Shariwan, can you get me Proverbs 16 and 27?
Come.
Right. We got to go to Proverbs 16 and 27. Right. Because we're finding out that they've been marketing us weed for so long. If you haven't known before, smoking weed is a worship of another god. It's the god of of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he don't give a damn about no weed. He don't even like that smell. He likes frankincense and myrrh. Right? He likes the smell of lamb roasted.
Right.
Salakia, listen, that lamb roasted, that's a different smell altogether. Right? He likes the fact that the men in the I.S.U.P.K don't smoke weed, and you'll damn near lose your rank. Right? And it's not even damn near. You will lose your rank for smoking weed. Because that is a sin unto the Most High. You're worshiping another God. Right? And this is the next thing. Many brothers and sisters don't speak about that part where it says, listen, a lot of brothers and sisters don't even want to smoke. But that addiction and that demon is such a hard demon to fight when you do it by yourself. Right? So you can read Proverbs 16 and 27.
Come. An ungodly man diggeth up evil.
Wait, a righteous man.
An ungodly man.
A man who's strong in his faith.
An ungodly man.
Right? A man that worships Shiva.
An ungodly man.
A man that says Rastafari and smokes all the weed and tells you it's a sensation and it's how he meditates with the earth. He's ungodly. He doesn't know his culture. He doesn't know that that's not his culture. He believes the Ethiopians are his God. And then they go to Ethiopia and they get treated horribly. Because Ethiopians don't give a damn about no niggas from no islands. Right? Keep reading.
An ungodly man diggeth up evil.
They diggeth up evil. Listen, all you weed smokers, tell me how you get the weed out the earth. What's the process and what do you have to do? Officer Shaw, you want to keep breaking that down? Officer Shaw?
Okay. And in his lips there is a burning fire. Understand? An ungodly man digs up weed out of the earth and smokes it. Right? It is that simple. Right? That's in the Bible. I never heard a Christian pastor bring that up before. Right? And to all you people out there saying that, oh, weed is from the earth, thinking it's good for you. Well, yeah, everything that we see is from the earth. Right? But you don't get a fish out the sea, roll it up in a spliff and start smoking it. You don't pull broccoli out of the ground. You don't pull vegetables out of the ground. Right? You don't light an apple on fire and start smoking it just because it's from the earth, right? That's nonsense.
Right.
Right.
And Salakia, not to cut you off, but that's so heavy because remember today we asked the second brother who tried to sell us weed. It's like you still trying to sell us that weed? Listen, we're not smoking. I asked him, what about broccoli? He said, well, broccoli was made, man made that, so I can't smoke it. So I said, what about grass? Right, the grass. He can't tell me that man made the grass now. He said, boy, that's not what it is though. Like he basically said, listen, I'm not smoking grass because grass is not gonna get me high. In layman's terms, that's what he said. I'll just show you why. You can continue.
Come. Right? It says, and in his lips there is a burning fire. Right? This is a brother or sister, right? Who digs up these different things from the earth and smokes it. Right? This is what the Bible is talking about. The Bible is talking about smoking weed. Right? It's telling you that it's ungodly. It's evil. It hurts you. It's not good for you. You understand? And this is why it's so important, like the Bible says, to honor the physician, to go to them and ask them, like, what is good for me? Speak to a professional, right? Don't speak to somebody who watched YouTube videos for the last 3 years about why weed is so good for you, right? Go to your doctor and ask them, what's the best medication for me to take? And a lot of that medication, it's not meant to take forever. You take it because you need it until you're better, right?
Right.
And of course, there's some diseases out there that you got to live with, right? And if your doctor prescribes something for you, take the medicine, right? Take the medication that you need, right? But to dig up weed out of the earth and start smoking it, that's an ungodly man. That's a person that doesn't value their temple. That's
right.
A person.
No, continue.
So that's a person who doesn't value their temple, right? And like the Most High said, one of the greatest commandments is to love your neighbor as yourself, right? You gotta love yourself if you're gonna love your people.
That Salakia, that just reminded me of the brother that was trying to sell us weed earlier today, right? I can't make this up. The brother said, I said, do you know that everyone who beats shots in Mississauga, in the city that we're in, they smoke weed first, right? He said, nah. But before I even said that, I said, if you love your brothers and sisters, you wouldn't be trying to sell them weed. He's like, what are you talking about? Weed is what's calming them down. So I said, you hate all the shootings going on in Mississauga right now, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, listen, before they do the drive-bys and kill somebody, what do you think they're smoking? I told him it's weed. He said, nah. That's not it, because he wants to sell his weed. Listen, I've never seen weed sold so vigorously as I seen today. Right? Listen, they had their pre-rolls ready. They had a whole dispensary in Mississauga, and black men standing out the dispensary like workers trying to sell you weed. When black men are supposed to be the kings and the princes of the earth, they're supposed to be. Listen, weed made us so weak. It's just nobody wants to fight for what's right no more. Nobody wants to fight for domination. Listen, that's what we do. And here we fight for domination. I don't want to be subjected to my oppressors no more. I hate it. I hate being under my oppressors. I hate having to even smile with them. Because they want to say hi. Listen, I'm going to be courteous and say hi. Like, don't ask me nothing. Don't try to have no conversation with me because I don't like you. You're not my friend. I might work with you and might not cut your head off while I'm working. I mean, verbally, of course, because I'm not going to cut a man's head off unless Christ tells me to. Unless Christ comes back right now and says, listen, this time we're cutting heads off. He's like, sign me up. Khan on one Khan. All right? But I'll verbally cut your head off, and I don't do that to the oppressors I work with. That's where I work, and I'm under your authority at this moment because you run the whole earth, and you tell my people they have to smoke weed. So now my brothers and sisters, especially, you ever work with a brother or sister who smokes weed? Good night. You try to talk to them about Salakia. Officer, show you what. This is the last time you tried to talk to a brother or sister about some righteousness that smokes weed on the slavery. When was the last time you did that?
Oh, good night.
just righteousness in general.
Righteousness in general, probably about a week ago.
And how did that work out?
Our people don't want to hear it.
They don't want to hear nothing. Listen. I worked with a brother. This brother smokes weed, right? And I worked with another brother who doesn't smoke weed, but he doesn't. Listen, the other brother who doesn't smoke weed, he still loves all his oppressors. So I'm telling them, yo, the weed and the bogey smoke, you have to cut it out. It's what's mashing us up. Our Lord doesn't like it. They didn't want to hear nothing about the Lord right away. Then it's, yo, you can't blame white people no more for the crimes they did to us. I'm like, what the hell? I didn't even talk about white people yet. Okay, since we want to go there, I do blame them. The brother turned around and said to me, he doesn't want to hear it because I don't know what I'm talking about. A week or two later, the brother came to me and said, yo, that heathen. He didn't say heathen, but he said the person's nation. And I just, in my mind, I heard heathen because it's not us. He said, yo, the heathen, he's talking to me foul and I don't know what to do and he's making me just want to fight. And I said, listen, that's what you like though. Right? Brothers that honestly, you don't want to hear nothing about anything righteous. Right? Salakia, where were we? What were we reading? You finished with that verse?
Okay.
Let's go back more into get me Ezekiel 8 and 17. Well, Officer Shariwan gets that. I'm going to go and read more of this article. Okay, so individuals with simple possession of cannabis convictions might also have other convictions, such as theft or mischief, which would make them ineligible for cannabis. One second. So it's confusing right now, right? So are you saying that only if you have marijuana as your only charge on your record, you can get the marijuana taken off. But if you have theft and robbery, we can't get marijuana taken off. Right now, that says two things to me. Well, that says one thing to me in general. They want to keep the marijuana on your record for when you go break into the next house, so they can say, "Listen, Your Honor, he was smoking weed. That's what he does. He smokes weed and he breaks into houses, right? Or right now he's broken into a car. Before he was breaking into houses, and before that he used to smoke weed." So they're gonna go into the courts and make the weed seem like it's bad to the judge or to the jury, right? So if weed is bad, right? And if weed is bad and you can't, it's not good to smoke weed because it's gonna make you break into houses and cars. Why are you selling it to us? Why are you in the ghettos and why are you in the major cities telling blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans they can smoke weed, right? And again, everywhere you go, every 100 meters in Toronto, there's some type of dispensary or some ad or some sticker talking about weed. But if you have mischief or robbery on your criminal record, you can't get rid of your weed conviction. It's not making sense. They know that weed is a horrible thing, right? Officer Shariwan, you can read that precept.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 8 and verse 17. Then he said unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Is it a light thing to the house of Judah that they commit the abominations which they commit here?
Right. Listen, is it a light thing to just smoke some weed? Again, worshiping another god is an abomination. You're smoking that weed, it's an abomination unto the Most High. He doesn't listen. He's not smelling it. The Most High is smelling Captain Tazariak's fourth dimensional oils more than he's smelling that weed. He don't give a damn about that. That frankincense and that myrrh, that's what the Most High wants to smell. He wants to smell some good incense burning. He wants to smell lawful animals on the grills burning. The weed, he doesn't care because it's to a god that doesn't exist. Shiva is not real. All the gods of the heathens aren't real, right? Shiva did not stop them East Indians from getting the COVID. They got that COVID so much, they threw their gods in that shitty river that they have, Salakia. Right? Salakia on my language, but they have a river that's practically flowing feces, right? And they shower in it, and they do a bunch of Lord knows what. And that god Shiva did not stop them from throwing their idols and their gods into that river because of COVID. I remember when Commander General YAHANNA was bringing this out on Blackwatch. I was watching. It's like, what are they doing there? They throwing those gods in the river. The shitty gods, Salakia, in the shitty river. Salakia again. Listen, I don't know what to tell y'all. They don't. The Lord hates that. He doesn't give a damn about it. It's not light to smoke weed, right? All that weed smoke and all the marijuana and all the poison you put in your lungs, you're getting cancer, right? You can't even tear fire properly on your rib because you're smoking weed and it's killing your stamina, right? To the point where she's just waiting for you to fall asleep so she can back out some toys. Good night. Keep reading.
For they have filled the land with violence and have returned to provoke me to anger. And lo, they put the branch to their nose.
Listen, they put their branch to their nose. The Lord is angry at your smoking weed. You're putting that marijuana in your lungs. You smoke. You have the cigarette or the joint in front of you. You have a blunt. The blunts look like rods. You're putting a blunt in your mouth. You're putting a rod in your mouth. I heard Captain Yatazak say that. I'm like, good night. I never looked at it like that, right? So when you smoke the backwoods, that's a black rod in your mouth. When you smoke the zigzags, it's a white rod. Good night. I never heard that before. That was a mean breakdown. Give that captain a hand. I never heard that. He said another captain taught him. Listen, them captains learned from Commander General YAHANNA. He taught us to put down all the things that afflict us and all the things that are making. He taught Salakia. Take the class for a second.
Come on, come. Right? Salaki. Commanding General YAHANNA, he taught us, right? He taught us how to be men, right? How to regain back our strength. Because in this kingdom, they've done nothing but beat down blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? A black man is not strong when he's smoking weed, right? A black man cannot fight properly when he's smoking weed. A black man cannot defend himself properly or his family when he's smoking weed. He's not in his right state of mind, right? It'd be no different than going out and drinking, right? Or overly drinking too much, right? Being a drunkard, right? Smoking weed, being on drugs, like these things impair you, right? Right? And the government of Canada understands that. That's why they tell you you can't smoke weed and drive, right? They have heavy fines for it because they understand that you can't control the wheel properly smoking weed. You understand? You have a greater risk of harming somebody if you're smoking that weed, right? So why would you do that to yourself, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man, right? Why would you hurt yourself that way? Why would you impair yourself that way, especially with all the work that we have to do amongst our community? Right? You want to be a strong black man, you got to put down the weed. You got to put down the drugs, right? You got to stop selling drugs to your people because these things destroy us. All right, going on in the article. Slovakia. Going on in the article, it says a cumbersome process. Patricia Erickson, a professor of criminology and drug policy expert at the University of Toronto, said applying for the pardon is difficult and has discouraged many people. Right? The process has become costly, cumbersome, and requires a lot of form filling that not everyone can negotiate, she said. A blanket pardon is the only thing that would have any real impact. Right? So you mean to tell me that you have to pay, right? You have to pay to file all this paperwork, right? Do you know how hard it is for a person in jail to make money, right? Unless you got some family on the outside helping you, right? Or you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing. Like it's hard to, right? It's hard to come up with this money and pay your different lawyer fees and filing fees, right? All your court fees and stuff like that, right? These things are expensive. And these are things that are heavily stopping our people from getting these pardons, right? If the government turned around and legalized marijuana, right, they need to drop all the charges and release those people, right? Point blank, period. Right? If you were incarcerated because you had some kind of thing with marijuana, you were caught selling marijuana, whatever it may be, like they need to just turn around and drop all these charges, right? Not put you through some process, a filing process where you got to dot all your I's, cross all your T's, right? Because as it's shown, they were expecting over 10,000 people to be released, right? 10,000 Canadians should be released. And when I say 10,000 Canadians, if you look at the statistics of who's in those prison systems, you better believe that 70% of those people are Black, Hispanics, or Native Americans.
Right.
Right? Those are the people that should have been released. Over 7,000 Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans should have been released on those marijuana charges. Right? But instead, they only allow 480 people. And I wouldn't be surprised if the people who are able to get through all that filing and court fees and stuff like that, right, are probably the oppressor. They're probably Caucasians.
Right.
And they're probably Europeans. They're probably Asians. Somebody with some money.
Right.
Right, who's able to get through these different court processing fees.
Right, because again, Black people don't have money to be spending on a court situation that might not even go through. right? They gotta turn around and feed their children. They gotta go and they gotta make sure the rent's paid, right? A lot of times you're not going to. A lot of times you're not going to. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, they're not going to have the money to take care of court fees or even have the time to take off of work. We're in such a slavery where we gotta just to take time off work. It's a horrible thing, right? Because you take 1 day off work and now listen, some of the food that was in your fridge last week might not be in your food next week, might not be in your fridge next week because we took 1 day off work. That's just how it works.
So Larky, if
Con.
I could read the next paragraph.
Read, Con, you go ahead.
It says NDPMP Don Davies said that the cumbersome nature of the process to apply for a record suspension is daunting the people who need it most. The people who need pardons, particularly from pot charges, are typically the least able to access that process.
Right, and they made sure that didn't happen for the first year and a half because you had to pay $631. Listen, you asked me for $631 right now. I'm gonna look at you like you told me fighting words. Like, what are you talking about? 600? That's a quarter of my rent right now. What are we talking about? Right? They don't want to hear that. They're just gonna say, listen, I was surviving with this weed charge before. I'm just gonna keep surviving now. Right? Were you able to finish that precept from earlier? Con. Let's get more into it. Here, I got another one for you. Right? Bring me to Exodus 22 and 18. Right? Is there anything else in that article?
So if I could read just the last sentence.
Con. You read that last sentence, I'll get the precept lined up for you.
So it says, they are the most marginalized Canadians. Young people, indigenous people, and people of color.
Wait, read that again.
Come.
Read it from just a little more up,
Come.
so they can get the full grasp of what you're saying.
It says the people who need pardons, particularly from pot charges, are typically the least able to access that process. They are the most marginalized Canadians, who are young people, indigenous people, and people of color.
Now they expect who on the reservations got time to go listen. Even if there is work on the reservations, you think they have time to take a day off and go figure out how to go get a pardon for some weed? Right? They've been surviving with the weed charge for the last 20, 30 years. Because Justin Trudeau says he's legalizing weed now, and you could possibly get a pardon as long as your weed charge is just a weed charge, right? There's nobody who has just a weed charge. So this was a trick from the get-go. From out the gate, it was a trick. They did not want you to get that pardon, right? What they want you to do is to think you're going to get a pardon, give them some money, then you can't get the pardon. Do you even get the money back? Right? You spent this money to figure out if you can get a pardon, and now you can't get the pardon. Do you even get the money back? Right? They want you to commit more crime, get more high. Listen, you're poor and broke, and you don't have the money, and your neighborhoods are in shambles, and there's cocaine and gunshots shooting off in your neighborhood. Smoke this weed and deal with your depression. Use the weed as your depression, as a way to deal with your depression. And when you think about that money, just go commit some more crimes. We'll bring up the fact that you smoke weed, and we'll give you more time. And as you get more time, you'll have to just go work in one of the factories in the jails, right? And help feed this town, because that's what they really want, right? If they wanted to crush the black market, right, they would do what they did in COVID. They shut down the borders. They would go and find a way to get rid of all the weed plants, right? It's extremely possible. They don't want to do that. right? What they want to do is send people to jail and make it seem like they give a damn about blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans.
Right.
Right. Can you read, Baba Kashar, read this right here? Where were we? Slovakia. 1 second, I gotta find it. Read, what is it? Exodus 22 and 18.
Come. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Right. What is a witch? A witch is a drug dealer, right? The person who's telling you to think about it. Now, people find it hard to believe that weed or marijuana is a drug when it is a drug. It keeps brothers and sisters addicted, right? To a point where, have you been around a heavy weed smoker? What is the first thing they do when they wake up? Have you ever been around a heavy weed smoker? The first thing they do is they look at the ashtray. This is literally the first thing they do. They look. I'm not even sure what that is, right? So they look at the ashtray, right? And before the ashtray, they're thinking about, where's the weed? Can they roll up? Right? So now they're thinking about, where's the weed? Can we roll up? All right, I'm about to roll up. I didn't even brush my teeth yet. That's what weed smokers think about. Right? Read that precept again.
Come. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
A witch sells a man a drug or some potion or some type of herb or elixir that has him totally dependent on that witch. That's what your weed man does. He sells you the weed and he says, you want the best cautious, the best high grade, it's gonna help you X, Y, and Z, right? Then the next day you go back and you go check him again and again and again and again. And within 6 months, you gave that weed man $10,000. I bet you didn't know you had $10,000. Just go add up all the weed blunts or the weed roaches in your ashtray. I guarantee you, it probably reaches $20,000. It probably reaches a small business that you could have started 15 years ago if you weren't smoking all those pounds of weed that you did in the last 15 years. We suffer a witch not to live because weed is killing our community. The drug dealing is absolutely horrible in our community. It's destroying us left, right, and center. Right? You can keep what's left in that article. Is there anything else?
Awesome.
Come on.
It says John Struthers, president of Criminal Lawyers Association, agrees. He said that criminals related to cannabis should be erased in a blanket fashion.
Now listen, y'all might not know who John Struthers is, right? John Struthers, you ever heard gangster rap in Toronto? That's the name they talk about. He's the guy. He's the man who's getting us. I'm not even gonna say us, but when I say us, it's because we're blacks, Hispanics, and Native American, right? He's the person that if you have money, you can pay him to defend you. And listen, he's a man in the courts that 8 times out of 10 he's getting you off your charges or getting you to the lightest possible sentence, right? But let's hear what he had to say.
He said that crimes related to cannabis should be erased in a blanket fashion, as was done for people with records related to acts of homosexuality.
Oh, wait. Read that part again.
He said that crimes related to cannabis should be erased in a blanket fashion, as was done for people with records related to acts of homosexuality.
Right. So now the gay community, they were able to get their record erased. When people said that being gay is a crime, they were able to get their records erased. According to our God and the laws of our power, being gay is a crime. It's an abomination. just like smoking weed. That's why a captain, right? And I believe it was Captain Nishak who told Captain Yatazak this, right? You smoke that weed, that blunt in your mouth is a rod. It's the same charge according to the Most High. It's abomination. It's the worship of another God. And if you're black, Hispanic, and Native American, and you worship another God, it's damn near like being gay.
Right.
It's the same thing. It's killing our community. Weed is killing our community, just like being gay is killing our community. Do you know how many brothers have died, literally died, because of a weed sale gone wrong? Right? How much weed has to be on the table to take a brother's life? You want to go rob him for some weed. So it's like, yo, we got to go rob him for some weed. But if we do it and he finds out it's us, he might want to get some get back. Right? So we got to take his life because he had a pound of weed. Now in Canada, a pound of weed, listen, in Canada, you go kick over a rock somewhere on Queen Street and you'll find a pound of weed. And it means it's relatively cheap. In Canada, a pound of weed is regularly cheap. It's only about $1,000, right? To a drug dealer, $1,000 ain't money. It's chump change, right? In America, a pound of weed, good. Nah, I can only imagine how expensive a pound of weed in America is, right? They make that the end all be all to take a brother's life. So many brothers have died at the hand of other brothers over weed. And if it wasn't weed, so many brothers have died, right? Literally died because a police officer smelled weed in the car.
Right.
So many police officers go up to brothers and say, listen, I smell weed in the car. And you're like, I don't even smoke.
Right.
But they use that weed as the way to enter into your car. The way to pull you out of your car so they could turn around and say, listen, we have probable cause to pull him out of this car and harass him. Right. Officer Shaiwan, Bokasha, there's another article I want you to read. It's the Toronto Star. Okay, come. I got it right here. Right, the Toronto Star. Okay, good night. 1 second. Toronto Star article. Right, were we done with that precept?
Come on.
All right, get me Exodus. We read Exodus 22 and 18. That's what we read. Okay, I gotta find this other article, this other precept, right? But for now, you could read this article right here.
This is an article from the Toronto Star. It says hundreds of thousands of Canadians could see their drug possessions records disappear. Canadians with criminal records for drug possession will see them effectively vanish within 2 years after the government's criminal justice reform bill becomes law. A move that could affect hundreds of thousands of people. Criminal records can prevent people from getting jobs, volunteer opportunities, housing, and hinder their ability to travel. The automatic sequestration of drug possession records was made possible due to a new Democratic Party amendment to Bill C-5 and accepted by the government. I said we need a better bill. Highest on my list was trying to get rid of criminal records for simple possession, said NDP Justice critic Randall Garrison.
All right, you could drop that article, right? It's just another group trying to get rid of weed. You could drop that article, right? We're gonna get some precepts out right quick. If this is anything you want to add, Officer Shariwan, you could definitely chime in. Right? Salakia. Can you get us give me Lamentations 4 and 17? Right, there's something I'm looking for in there. We're gonna find something else. Slovakia. I'm looking for another precept right quick. Bear with me. What do you got in Lamentations 4 and 17? Look for its snares. Look in there if you see snares. Okay, drop that. Get me Psalms 8. You found it? You found something? No, drop that. Get me Psalms 91 and 3. Right. Because listen, we got every heathen nation around and about us telling us that we gotta smoke weed. You got Chinese people selling us loose cigarettes. You got in the States, listen, the tribe of Judah and the northern kingdom, they're going through it. They're in neighborhoods where the Arabs, right? The Ishmaelites are selling them heroin, right? They're selling them all types of drugs, all types of weeds. You go into any convenience store in Canada right now, and you're gonna see glass pipes. Listen, I seen the brother Blueface. The brother Blueface, right? He was smoking out of a glass pipe, and I said, "Good night." Is this nigga smoking crack now? It makes sense why his rib is punching them all in the face, right? And someone else, right? They put me onto another side of it. They said, listen, they had something called glass blunts. I'm like, what the hell is a glass blunt? Listen, a blunt, listen, when I grew up, a blunt was a cigar that they put weed in. Now they're saying glass blunts. I said, that's a crack pipe. Y'all call it glass blunts. That's not a blunt, that's a crack pipe. Y'all are smoking weed out of crack pipes. Blueface is going to be smoking crack soon if he's not already doing it. It's just, it is what it is. Now you go into convenience stores, the heathens sell us all types of weed paraphernalia. Before you had to go to a weed paraphernalia store, right? That was licensed to sell bonds. Now they just listen, it's right in the open. They have a whole glass case and shelf, and it's like a shelf that's made out of glass. It has weed pipes, it has grinders, it has Bob Marley, the white man, the oppressor, right? Because Bob Marley, his father is an oppressor. He's the seed of his father. It has Bob Marley zigzags and a bunch of rolling papers, right? A bunch of just weed paraphernalia. They got something. I seen this the other day. They got something that it looks like a can, and you smoke and blow the smoke, the exhaled smoke into the can, and it's supposed to filter it so it doesn't smell like weed. They're coming up with a bunch of things to make weed smoking easier for Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And guess, nah, you gotta check this out, right? This is how you know the heathens hate Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Where do you think the weed all the smoking paraphernalia is above? Sure, you want. You can take a guess. Right? Someone in the chat, whoever's in the chat, you can write in. Where do you think they place the weed smoking paraphernalia in these convenience stores? Right? I'll just show you one. While I wait for that answer, you can keep reading that. What we had?
Come. Let's look at Psalms chapter 91 and verse 3. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler.
Right. Listen, we're gonna be delivered from these traps. The snares are traps, right? The Most High is going to deliver us from these traps, and that's why the I.S.U.P.K is here right now. The I.S.U.P.K under Commanding General YAHANNA is here to get Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans off of marijuana. You don't have to smoke weed no more. You don't have to worry about. Listen, come home. right? You left out of here and out of Jerusalem and turned away from your God, and decades later, centuries later, a lifetime of slavery later,
Right.
you're being woken up again. It's time to come home, right? So the Most High can free you out of the traps that the oppressor sets. Marijuana in your community, marijuana on every corner, every dispensary, right, is a trap. Snoop Dogg rapping in music videos from these record labels who are run by predominantly Jewish people, right? Kanye was onto something. It's just Kanye again, he a young man. Kanye should be in the trooper program, right? It should be young man Ye. Salakia. Until you get yourself a name, right? Listen, he just don't know what to say. That's why we teach troopers not to. Troopers don't teach. I remember when I was a trooper, I called a bar. Yeah, so I was talking to a brother. He was telling me about something, and I was trying to teach him. And I was Salakia, you're not supposed to teach. I'm just like, Khan, I understand now. You're not supposed to teach. Now listen, let's just get back into it. Let's continue reading.
Come. And from the noisome pestilence.
Right, the Most High, He's gonna save us. Listen, you get diseases from smoking weed. Right, cancer attacks your lungs. Right, now listen, they used to say you lose brain cells, and I used to be like, how do you lose brain cells? How do they even know you're losing brain cells? But have you ever listened to the people who smoke weed? The people who smoke weed, you know a famous argument from someone who smokes weed? Right? Before that, right? I had asked a question. Right? For time's sake, I'm going to give you the answer. The weed paraphernalia is right next to the chocolate bars and the Skittles and the Starburst candy and the gummy worms. Who looks at gummy worms, Starburst, and chocolate when they go into a store? Right? Who looks at that? Children do. The children look at the Starburst and the gummy worms and the Skittles and the bags of chips and the chocolate. They see "Oh Henry," and then they look, "Oh, it's a bomb." Right. And now they're wondering, what the hell is that? As they get older, they know that's a bomb now. If they get in high school, listen, they get in grade 6, they know it's a bomb now. Yeah. They've been programmed to want chocolate and bongs and weed. All right? You can keep reading.
Verse 4. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Verse 5.
You could drop that, right? The most High is going to save us. The truth of the Bible that we're blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and we're not supposed to worship another God. We're not supposed to worship whatever the heathens want us to do and worship, is going to save us. That's going to be our shield. That's going to be our protection. You don't want lung cancer? Stop smoking. You don't want to go to jail for selling drugs? Stop selling drugs. Get into the school, right? So, okay, I got one more precept that I wanted to bring out. Let me find it. Let me find it right quick. Right, Officer Shaywan. You can get me Proverbs. Give me Proverbs 1:7, Baba Kashan.
Okay.
Right. Listen, it's time that we come back. We need to fear God. We need to know that the fear of God is what our protection is. Our salvation comes from fearing God, from keeping His law, statutes, and commandments, from getting in class, from learning that, listen, we don't smoke weed no more. That's not what we're doing. So we're not going to do it. Right? You got it. You can read it whenever you got it.
Come. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 1 and verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction.
Right. Listen, the fear of God. Officer Shaywan, I need you to read that one more time. That was so heavy. That thing is just flowing. Listen, those are bars. You hear the battle rappers? They're like bars. That was bars. Let's go. Let's get it. Read that one more time.
Verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
Oh, you don't fear the weed smoke. You better fear that weed smoke. You better fear the Most High. Listen, all right, I'm gonna touch on something that I really don't speak about, right? I don't speak about all my friends who've passed away that I hope they rise again, right? I had a brother, like this brother was my dog, like that was my homie. Like we didn't chill every day, but we used to go to the community center, and whenever we chilled, it was just like, yeah. At that point, he was doing something different with his life, and I was in the streets, right? I kept my street shit away from this brother. But we get on that basketball court, and he had to be on my team because he could jump off a vertical, meaning both feet off the ground. He just jumps straight into the air, and his head goes above the rim. And he was, listen, I might be about 5'8", maybe 5'7". This brother was an inch shorter than me, and he could tear through that gym. He could fly, right? One day he went out to walk his dog in the neighborhood. And as he walked his dog, he didn't have any weed. And he went to go to the local weed man in our neighborhood, who's also one of our he was a pair for like he was the same age as us, right? He went to go check that brother for some weed. The brother was murdered. Some cowards came up and just shot him while he walked his dog. Even though he had nothing to do with nothing, they didn't know him, right? Them same cowards were so high because they were smoking, right? One of them, Salakia, it gets real deep, right? But one of them peed, and that's how the police were able to break the case. One of them peed outside of the crime scene because they were high, right? Weed kills. If you don't know that, you do now. Weed kills. It's been killing blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans forever. All these kids that you see running around shooting up the cities and stuff, they be smoking weed, right? You can keep reading.
But fools despise wisdom and instruction.
Let me get it one more time.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, right? The knowledge of knowing that listen, you fear the Lord because the law was given to the Israelites, only to the Israelites. You fear the Lord because you know you're an Israelite and you got to keep his law, statutes, and commandments, right? Listen, you don't do that. You might die in the world. The world is a horrible place to die in, right? You want to die in the truth. If you got to pass away or you give up the ghost, you want to do it while you're in the truth, while you're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. So if you do have to come back, right, you come back in a perfect body. A body that has no sins, a body that doesn't have to pay for the crimes of this past life, right? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Again, the fear, knowing that the Most High is going to kill you for your crimes, is the beginning of knowledge, right? Keep reading. Read that one more time.
The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and instruction.
A fool despises wisdom and instruction, right? Meaning, I'm instructing you right now. Stop smoking that damn weed. A fool is gonna look at me and say, "What the hell is this brother talking about?" Right. We told brothers earlier today. Listen, y'all should stop selling this weed out here. You might die. The Lord be with you. I hope you wake up in time. Some of them heard us. A one brother, he was chilling in an all white Benz. Like, yeah, I made it. Listen, it's gonna go bad for that brother if they don't stop doing what they're doing. Right? I'm gonna put you on to another thing. Y'all think y'all got your little mini drug cartels and you want to be like the oppressor. You want to be mobbed up like him. What the oppressor knows is they tap cars now. It's not just your phone being tapped. They put bugs in your car. And if it's not a physical bug they're putting in your car, they're getting through the computer in your car, right? The fear of the Most High is the beginning of knowledge, and the fool despises wisdom. So with that said, we're going to bring a wrap to this class, right? I'm going to read the security, Officer Shaywan. You can read the security announcements. I'm going to hand this class over to Officer Shaywan, Right, and then we're gonna say a prayer as well. Right. Clap it up. There, you stand in the middle of the podium.
These are the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. They need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can find it in Numbers 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'aishra means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. We have the Feast of Dedication, also known as Hanukkah in the Hebrew, which is on the 25th day of the 9th month by the space of 8 days, which will be Thursday, the 7th of December, 2023. You can read about it in the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 4, verses 52 to verse 61.
The prayer for
If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black boots, shirts, pants, headband, and scarf. With that said, men of Israel, Imadium, men of Israel and Akwathian, Imadium, which means stand, Sarpan Yahakudam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to say a prayer.
Just keep going.
This is the bless Israel prayer. First, we're going to read it in the Hebrew.
Yahweh,
Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Barak Lanawa, Wayasharala, Baya, Sapari, Barak, Rapah, Magun, Hagun, Lawyer, Ba'ashem Yahushai, the water Aman. What we said in the English. Lord, in the name of Yahushai, bless us, and Israel, and the school, bless, heal, shield, protect, lawyer, in the name of Yahushai, thank you so be it. Men of Israel, Sar, we're going to give one courtesy salute to the brothers, and then a courtesy salute to the sisters. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Yad Yamatah, which means hands down. Sar, turn and face the sisters. We're going to give a courtesy salute to the sisters. Man of Israel, Imajim Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yahweh Shemar Lathan Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Yahweh, Shemar, Alathan, Ba'ashem Yahushai.
Yad Yamatah, which means hands down. Class dismissed.